It's always hard to pinpoint that moment when you realize what your life's profession or your life's calling is. But I do know that as a child, I was always writing and I was always reading. My parents, as immigrants, were adamant that as children we needed both to get a really good education and we had to be readers. We lived in a home that never had a television, but we could go to the library in Camrose, which was the closest big library to us, and we could take out as many books as we wanted. So we were encouraged to read, we were encouraged to learn, we were absolutely encouraged to do well in school. There was no choice about that. If we came home with an A minus, we were asked, how come you didn't get an A? So my parents were pretty sharp about it. So I was always writing and reading. I do not remember learning to read. I know that I knew how to read before I went to school. And I know that books were a constant companion for me, that even when I was outside playing with my dogs or when I was washing the dishes or when I was in the garden and I was supposed to be weeding, I usually had a book with me, which my parents were both happy with but a little despairing of because it slowed down my ability to do my chores. I know that I was writing very early because I still have a little wooden table that my friend who lived down the road and I used to hide under. And I wrote our names on the bottom of that table, and I know that I could barely spell. I was about 3 or 4 years old. And I still have that table, and my name is still written on the bottom. My wonderful father-in-law refinished it, but he didn't take away the bottom where I had scrawled my name with a crayon, so it's still there. So I was always writing. And in school, although we went to a small country school, Edinburgh was a very small school. I think my class had maybe 14 or 15 children in it. I had wonderful teachers who encouraged us to write stories and to recite poetry, and so I just started writing it because my one kind of puzzlement was why there were no poems and stories about kids in Alberta. I was reading about kids in Great Britain and I was reading about kids in the United States, and I didn't understand how come Alberta was never in the stories. So I just started writing them myself. And my teachers were fabulous. They encouraged me, they were positive about it, and they really gave me a kind of enormous background. They gave me more and more books, which is always good, and they just were very, very positive about it. I do remember reading Anne of Green Gables because at last it was a Canadian girl and she had red hair. I mean, this was yay. At last I had found myself, and she was bad. I was often bad. So that was terrific. And I think I was only about 8 or 9 when I found Anne of Green Gables. And so after that I thought, well, if you can write about PEI, you can write about Alberta.